Today on Independent Wrestling Profiles, we're talking with Wallless Adam Wacker. I like to start at the same place with everybody because I think it's a given. If you started, training, if you started pursuing this as a career, it must have been sparked by something. So what is the earliest recollection you have to discovering the industry of professional wrestling?
When I was in about fourth grade, some kids at school were talking about it. They were talking about Raw or SmackDown, the video game. They're like, which are you, Team Raw, Team SmackDown? In my head, I'm like, Raw. I had no idea what they were talking about. So, of course, I go home, I Google it, and I'm like, okay, I'm finding out about wrestling. It happened to be Friday that day. So I'm Googling, like, where to watch it, how to watch it. And every TV in my house was occupied. So all my brothers are watching their games and doing stuff like that. But my one brother, Josh, he was sitting in his room. He wasn't using the TV. So I'm like, Josh, can I watch the show? I was like, a little annoying at that time. So he's like, fine. Josh is nonverbal. He's in a wheelchair. So his room's kind of like his safe space. It's like his sanctuary. So for me to be in there was like, oh, it was a big deal. But then the first shot, I'm trying to remember the first match. It was like Kofi Kingston. I think it was Kofi Kingston, CM Punk. During that match, like, we're both just in awe. So since then, it just kind of like stuck. So it was kind of like our own like language. So since then, we like built it into like a routine, and then it just became like a part of my life.
So I was going to ask about that. Like, you discovered it kind of on your own. You pursued it individually, but did that become something that you shared on a familial level, on a social level? Did it become more almost like an event than it was just a viewing experience?
Yeah, in a way. I think it almost like embodied my entire personality for a long time, because that's all I would talk about. And a lot of my siblings, like, they kind of knew, they're like, oh, that's his thing. But for me and my brother Josh, that was like our event. But for the most part, a lot of people in my life, a lot of my friends, it wasn't like mostly their thing. But I would still talk their ear off about it. In school, I'm like showing them wrestling articles. They're like, all right, we get it. But yeah, that essentially was just like my entire like identity was wrestling.
So if you can recall, is there something about the product that really appealed to you? Was it the athleticism? Was it the storytelling? Was it just the like grandeur of the whole presentation that you get? Like, what was it that immediately gripped you and kept you kind of along for the ride?
Yeah, I feel like I go back and forth on that. I think now my answer would be like the spectacle, like the artistic side of it, the self-expression. So I feel like it must have been that, because that's kind of like what you see first. Because a lot of the guys I liked had those entrances, like Edge, Jericho when he was doing his run in like '08, CM Punk. So they all had that kind of like dynamic entrance. They were all like on the mic. So you can kind of get a feel for who they were as characters. But now also I feel like the athleticism was something that I really didn't pay attention to that much as a kid. But now that's like that I watch matches for that specifically. So that's kind of like my current appeal.
Okay, so during that time that you were kind of evolving and growing as a fan, did you get an opportunity to experience a live event? See, just beyond the television, the feel of the crowd, the atmosphere, because a lot of people will tell you it's not just a viewing experience, it is an experience.
Yeah. The first and only time, like, during my early life that I went, it was the Raw in like 2011. It was harder to go because we would go with my brother, so we had to get the handicap seating, so it was more expensive in the front. I remember my mom struggling to, like, a lot of people taking over the space in between that walkway back when they did that old setup with the camera going through there. So that was the only one I went to, but to me it was like, it was like WrestleMania. It was just like a Raw in Buffalo, but to me it was like, oh my God, I made it. Especially walking out and seeing the crowd, like, as a fan, when you make your way to the seat, feeling that like air, that presence, that was enough for me to be like, yeah, this is it. So I definitely get that connection to like the audience being the part of it.
Well, I'm going to touch on that in a little bit as well,
Yeah.
but I do want to ask, many of us grow up as wrestling fans, we fantasize that moment coming out for WrestleMania. We buy the video games, we make ourselves and create a character. But
Yeah.
not all of us take that extra step to actually pursue it. What's
Right.
the trigger event? Where are you at in life? What's going on where you decide, you know what? I'm actually going to do this. I'm not just going to think about it.
Mm. I think it wasn't shortly after I started watching because it was in middle school. I remember watching and in my head questioning, like, why would someone ever want to do this? And then immediately I had the flip of like, oh, wait, I should do this. So since then, like, genuinely in middle school, I'm telling like guidance counselors, teachers, I'm telling like my friends, just that was it. And it never left. So yeah, yeah,
So then when do you actually pursue it? Like, what are you doing where you get an advertisement for a school, you
sure,
hear about it, something like, how do you actually take that step? What does that look
sure.
like?
That's probably more in high school. So I kind of had that through line still from middle school. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, gonna pursue it. So Googling wrestling schools, like watching YouTube videos. I think it was when I found like old World of Hurt footage and seeing Lance Storm in his ring. I'm like, oh, that's when I was searching for wrestling schools. That makes sense. And I had watched a lot of WCW at that time for Jericho because I was a big Jericho fan. So I think that's when it's like I filled out the application. My mom's like, "You're gonna do what in Canada?" Like she had no recollect, like no what do you call it? She was like, "This is crazy. This is insane." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm gonna do it anyways." So yeah,
Had you been to Canada before
I
you?
had not. That was the first time I had ever been on my own. So I was like freshly 18, just graduated. I had never lived on my own. I had never been on my own. Never been out of the like country really. So that was the first time I got to experience a lot of that. So obviously a lot of apprehension from like my family, but once I was in it, I'm like, yes, this is exactly like where I'm supposed to be.
You got to go over some of the emotional response to that because it must have been overwhelming. A lot of people will
Yeah,
go to wrestling school and there's a lot to take in, but
yeah.
you're also going to a new country. You're on your own for the first time, on top of all of the things that come with training. Like, how was it dealing with such a big shock to just your routine and your culture and stuff?
Yeah. I feel like I probably dissociated a little bit, but it was by the time I like actually got in and saw the ring, that's when I was like, okay, it's real now. So I think that was like the first shock. But I remember like in the airport, like texting Lance, him picking me up, and then like him driving us to the house because I lived in the house with Mike and a couple of the other guys, and just being like Lance Storm's drive, like it was just such an odd experience. But it was only when I was like in the school and saw the ring, I'm like, okay, now it's real. But it was definitely a culture shock in a lot of ways, like the bus pass, the conversion rate. That actually did me a lot of good because I was just a kid at the time. So it's like I'm working a couple jobs, saving money, but like I'm like, oh, $1 here, it's like 75 cents. So I'm like doing the calculations on how to get some extra stuff. So that was a big shock. But yeah, honestly, it was just like the guys in the house helped for sure. Mike especially. So he was huge on that. Like he showed me the ropes in terms of like where to go, what to do, signing up for the gym. So he was huge in that. So that helped a lot.
So, just for anybody who doesn't know, you're referring to Mike Forte.
Mike Forte, yeah.
Okay, all right. So you get into the wrestling ring and you know that this is what you've been waiting for. But
Yeah.
what are some of the challenges and what are some of the things that come a little bit more naturally to you?
Mm. I think at the time I wasn't really athletic. I worked out, and a lot of my brothers like taught me how to work out, like powerlifting and stuff. But I wasn't really like athletically gifted. I didn't really play a lot of sports, so I think that was like the biggest hurdle for me when I was there was some of the guys there being so like gifted, so talented. Um, so it was during that time that it's like that was a big hurdle. So I think to like compensate, it's like I tried to be the funny guy. Of course, with Lance, didn't always go over the best. Always trying to make him laugh, always make him crack. But I think that was like the biggest at the time for me. Now I think the talking probably came naturally. I do remember really liking promos. I would cut these long promos during class and then make it about like Boston pizza or something silly. And he's like, that was a great promo and you ruined it. I'm like, I had to do it. I had to. Just to like kind of cushion it a little bit because I would like go full in character.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to get a little complimentary, so you can stop
Sure.
me if you want to. But I'm not surprised you brought up Jericho, and I can definitely tell that you are very much into kind of the more storytelling, maybe
Yes.
the psychology aspects. The first
Yep.
time I saw you at Off the Ropes, you stood out to me immediately, and I think the biggest thing that it was you were in a tag team match, and even
Yes.
when you were on the apron. Your attention to detail, the little things, getting involved with the crowd, facial reactions to what's taking place in the ring.
Yeah.
You weren't just there, you were present and had
Yes.
a very strong attention to detail to everything that was going on. And to me, that's what stood out. I'm like, this guy gets every facet of it.
Mhm.
Have you always had this like this inkling to do all the little things, to pay attention to the details, to never really, what we say, like, there's never a wasted moment. That was the
Sure.
feeling I got. Is that
Sure.
kind of where you were kind of leaning towards?
It is, and that I appreciate that a lot. That's a huge compliment. To me, I think presence, that's like a huge thing. Now I think I want to approach every time I'm in the ring as like I love this and I'm dedicating like my life to it. So I want to show like my full presence in it. I want it to be as authentic as I can. So when I know those little things are like what make it an experience. So I want people that are watching to like leave with that same feeling that I have, like when I watch it and I enjoy it. So yeah, since like coming back into wrestling, started training again July of 2024. Since then, I knew it's like I've been thinking about wrestling like 10 years, all the little details, and I knew that was the stuff that like I could thrive in. So I'm really glad that was very nice of you to say.
Okay. So I was aware that you had a gap in your
Yeah.
career. I believe I might have heard it from Mike possibly.
Mhm.
But can you talk to me a little bit about the start of the career and what led to this time away?
Yeah. So after Lance is finished, I got home. I think that was the biggest thing. I think I grew up a lot during that time. First time away from home, like I grew as like a person. So coming back, it's like I had all these big ideas of where I wanted to be in wrestling. But then I think the reality of my life started to set in. My mom's like, "You promised me you'd go to school now," and life starts to settle in. I started going to school, became a teacher. So during that whole time, wrestling kind of became more and more on the back burn, where it's like I enjoy it. This was a part of my life. But then it was just like the snap of it's still there. Like it's never left. So it's like I should stop trying to avoid it and I should just kind of lean in. So that whole gap was kind of like working and personal reasons, things like that. But I think during that time, I grew to the point of recognizing it's like I should just be who I want to be. Going to therapy a lot during that time helped to kind of like grow into myself. And then once I got to that age, I guess I was about 27 when I got back in. It just kind of like fell into place from there.
Did you have a chance to do a few matches, or was it just from
Oh,
training? No. So you didn't even
yeah,
have a match. It
no,
was training and then so that's kind of interesting. So like you almost had like a second trigger event after
yes.
10 years. Was it just you felt that life had kind of opened up a little bit? You had a little bit more time? Like what was the push to get back into it after 10 years, right?
Yeah. I think it was just like I was thinking more about it at work. And it's like I had like a prep period like in between one of my classes. And I was like, I, I think I just came across wrestling on my feed. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any wrestling schools nearby. At the time, I didn't have a car, so I was walking to work. So it was about like a 30-minute walk. So then I'm Googling it, and it's like there's a wrestling school that's like a 45-minute walk from my place. It's like I have no reason not to. So the Buffalo Wrestling Academy was like right within my town. So at that point, I was like, I have to do it. Um, and then from there, it's like I kind of remembered a lot of everything just kind of came back slowly. Like you always know to like eyes open, listen, just kind of like be present in that way. And I think at that point, I knew myself enough to just be there for the experience. It's like I'm doing it for me. I enjoy it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't. I can say I tried it again. And I think I picked back up pretty quickly on a lot of the stuff. So so that explains like that huge time in between. But like during it, I think I needed that to like be where I'm at now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a little too rudimentary to say it was like riding a bike, like you kind of picked it back up and got into
In
the
some way, yeah, in some way. I think too, it's like throughout the years during that time, it's like anytime you watch wrestling or it's referenced, you're just throwing random super kicks throughout the house. Like you're walking around throwing strikes to the wall because that's how we'd practice our strikes, like hitting a wall. So it's like I'm just walking around the house cleaning, just hit, you know what I mean? So it's like always having that in the back burner of like, that's still there. I still got it. So yeah, in a way, it was like getting back on the bike and being like, I got it. I got it.
So how long was it this second time into training before you actually got to have a match? Because if you go by when you first started training in
Yeah,
Calgary, that's a very long period of time
very.
to wait for that first match to finally hit. I'm sure there was a feeling of elation, some level of relief, maybe even nervousness, right? Because you've
Sure.
probably been building this up in your mind for
Yeah.
10 years. How is this going to look? And I'm sure it probably didn't work out the way you were hoping, but talk to me a little bit about that first match experience.
Yeah, the first match I ended up having that April of 2025. So I was training from July to April. During that time, I think in my head, I did have it built up, but I think a couple of years into that like long break, I kind of, got that out of my mind. So once I started training again, in my head, I was like, I want to think about it differently. Because I think I set myself up too much when I was younger. I was a kid. I had all these hopes and dreams, but I think that's what stopped me. I kind of pedestalized like the end goal rather than the process. So during like training right before that first match, everything fell into place for me like very well. So the first match was at my college campus, UB. So I went there for a little bit before COVID. So the first match was there for like almost like a fair show.
Uh-huh.
It was a tag team match. I just faced them again actually last Friday, Honkin' and Bonkin'. It was against them. The match was like 40 minutes. And before getting out there, they're like, we need to kill time. You need to cut a live promo. And in my head, I was like, I was waiting my whole life for this moment. I come out, I start just it was like 8 minutes long, I think. Like, I see you, I hear you. Like a lot of the stuff I use now was just off the dome, kind of talking from that kind of like therapeutic sense. So an 8 minute live promo, like a 37-minute match, yeah, just like a crazy experience that I still don't think has hit me. Because since then, it's just been like, I'm in it now. Can't look back. I'm just on to the next.
That is quite a bit of pressure, I would imagine. Like,
Sure.
you're finally doing it. You're in front of a crowd. Cutting a promo is one thing, but cutting an 8 minute promo and not losing the crowd and
Yeah.
still knowing what to talk about. And then 37 minutes in the ring, that's a lot for a seasoned veteran, let alone for your first match.
Yes.
How do you get through the down moments where you're like, how do I fill this much time? Like that's a lot to do for
It
37
was.
minutes.
I think I probably just took heat the entire time. Because thinking about it, I don't know a single move I actually hit because I didn't have like a finisher yet. Like I didn't have any of that. To me, it was like whatever I think looks good and feels good and is safe is what I'll do. So I don't think I had anything. Maybe I did a body slam, maybe, but like I feel like I must have just taken the heat the entire time because I was definitely blown up after. I think like in it too, like it is kind of like an out of body experience in some way because I remember looking at the crowd, I'm making eye contact with them, but I'm so locked into the experience, like the little things being so present that I don't think I have that like commentary in my head during it of like, what am I going to do? What's next? It's almost after that. It's like looking back, I could do this, this, this. But during it, it's very just like in the moment. I'm like, I'm getting beaten up. It's like, okay, we're going long.
Okay, so you haven't even been doing this for a full year yet.
No, no.
You've been wrestling in the United States. You've
Mhm.
definitely come up to Canada. That's how
Yeah.
I got to see you.
Uh-huh.
Have you had a chance in what feels like would have been a whirlwind period of time to just let it sink in and kind of have a surreal moment that like, hey, I'm a wrestler.
I think it's sinking in a little bit now, to be honest. Like anything outside of the ring where I have to kind of think about myself and how I'm perceived in some way, I think that's when it sinks in. Because no, usually I think I'm just in it. I'm in the process. I'll acknowledge like, yes, this is good, this went well, but I'm always like, okay, but I could do better. So in some way I don't really kind of just take it in for what it is. But yeah, definitely thinking it now because hearing it and saying a lot of this stuff is like the first time I've recalled a lot of this since it happened. So it's definitely been a whirlwind. Yeah, like you said, for sure.
Okay, so not to, trifle with the possibility of being over complimentary, but the fact that you are this good
Thank
after
you so
less
much.
than a year is incredibly impressive to me.
Thank
But
you.
you had mentioned doing promos and how you
Mhm.
wanted to be perceived. Did
Sure.
you have an idea, a roadmap of how you wanted to be perceived? Like this Wallless character,
Yeah.
it is very much feels like part of the teaching element, the wrestling element. Like, was
Mhm.
that something that you kind of knew going into it? Hey, this is what I want to shoot for, or was there an evolution that kind of led to this persona?
There was definitely an evolution. I think it kind of is like adjacent to my growth as a person. So the second time through, like training at BWA, Buffalo Wrestling Academy, I told myself, I'm just going to be present, stay authentic, just be who I am now. And whatever naturally speaks to me is what I should do as a character because I want it to feel real. That's the biggest thing you hear is like, it's got to be you, but elevated. So in my head, it's like, what am I good at? And I would get a lot of the critiques during practice or moves. And it's like, you're in your head, you're thinking, you're overthinking. And then eventually it clicked, and I'm like, that's it. It's like all I'm doing is overthinking. I may as well use it to this to kind of like almost like embody a lot of those traits that I have. So being someone that's always like in my head, always thinking about the nuance or like the little details. That's kind of when that naturally evolved. But in terms of like the wall list, that came with a little more time. To me, I'm like therapeutically, that's like something you hear is like your wall is your resistance, like your psychological defense to something. So it's like, no, I don't do that, or no, I didn't mean that. It's like, well, that's your wall. So how are you going to get through it? And I feel like that kind of represents like who I am as a person now, because that whole chunk of time that I wasn't wrestling, it's like I can't do it. It's not meant for me. I'm not supposed to be here. It's all this like negative self-talk and narratives. So once I grew past that and learned to integrate it, it's like what a healing experience to like take this large part of my life and use it to my benefit. So in this sense, it's like very deeply rooted to like who I am now.
Okay. Well, as cheesy as it sounds, maybe you should be ceilingless because I think that you have a very bright future ahead of yourself.
Thank you so much.
I do want to ask, it
I'll
has
trademark
been
it.
it has been a short career thus far, but there
Mhm.
has to be some highlights that maybe stand out more immediately if you were to think back on it. I mean, I met you uh well, I got to see you perform, but I met you at a PWO show randomly in
Yes.
Hamilton. Like,
Yes.
how do you end up there? Like, what are some of the things that really just stand out? Like, I can't believe I got to go here or face this person. Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind if I ask you to look back on your career so far?
Honestly, that one is the big one to me because that was so spur of the moment. It was like seeing Mike again and like reconnecting to that part of like my career was like very important to me. So once I started wrestling and I had my first match, I'm like, I have a car now. I started having matches. It's like I should just go. So it's like I sent a message to them and I'm like, Mike, is it cool if I come down? He's like, yeah, just come on down. So I was like, okay. So I just made the drive through and it's like that to me, yeah, it's kind of surreal because it's like that huge part of my life that was there for so long. It's like now I got to see him again. It's like we picked back up like it was, we were still there in the storm house. So that for sure was a big moment. Um, I think also just like being trusted to have matches with the amount of people that I'm having or the amount of like places that I'm going. Like Buffalo, Erie All Stars, I'm having Empire State Wrestling. So it's like things are kind of rolling. So to me, that's like a big testament to like how much I'm trusted in this way with others. So that's huge. That to me like really stands out.
Yeah, I think you have a very unique advantage in that, like the Buffalo surrounding area as well as Ontario are both kind of hotbeds. To
Yeah,
be able to kind of plant roots in both of them and kind of get matches and promotions with both really will help kind of set you forward with different opportunities.
hmm,
Speaking of moving forward, though, like
sure.
what are some of the more immediate bucket list items? Like, I know
Hmm,
there's probably a ton of people that you would love to work with, a ton of places you'd like to travel. Not thinking long term, like end game, but like, what are kind of
sure.
some of the things that, where would you like wrestling to take you next? Who would you like to take it to face off against?
Sure. I think some more immediate ones. My first thought was off the ropes tag champs because me, Robbie Vegas, tag team of the year, one match together, right? So in my head, we're practically the uncrowned tag champs. So I'm manifesting that to be like a short term goal now. But in an actual sense, like I think wrestling a lot more in Ontario. Every time I come across any wrestler from Canada, Vaughn Vertigo specifically, he's been huge. Just a very empathetic guy for someone in the position he's in to talk to me when I'm like 11 matches in, we're calling a scramble. And he's like, you should do this. You should try this. Reach out to this person. So I definitely would love to have a one-on-one against him. Obviously, me and Mike have to at some point, and I feel it's going to be sooner rather than later. So hopefully that's a PWO ring or wherever. I'm trying to think if there's any other. I think those are the big standouts to me. I've already gotten to team with both my trainers. I've gotten to face off against both my trainers. So I think that's most of it. It's getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, well, I think maybe I put a little bit of that into the universe because I had said at the end of the year that an Ontario title is what I'd like to see for you at some point.
That's right.
So
It's
hopefully,
going to happen.
knock on wood, hopefully that happens. If it's off the ropes tag team, then sooner the better, right?
Yeah, right,
Uh,
right.
Let me ask you, when you are actually getting an opportunity to interact with the crowds, whether it
Mm,
is on the apron, in the ring, or even just at a show, what
mm,
is it kind of that you want to get, like, or not what you wanted, what do you want them to get out of seeing you for the first time
mm.
as a competitor, as a person, when they leave that venue? What do you want them to think about Adam Wacker?
I want them to think like dead stop there in the sense that if they get it, they get it. If they don't, they're like, why is that guy screaming? Right. Or they could be like, why is he wearing this? Why did he say this? Why in the match I want the gears turning because to me, that facilitates like the best part of wrestling is the interpretive aspect. Um, I want like when I come out, it to be like a visceral reaction, like emotionally. Because if you don't know who I am, I have to kind of like sell it right away. And to me, it's like if you'll feel something because I'm in your face, I'm screaming, I'm yelling, I'm on the apron yelling. But like on a deeper sense, I'm trying to reflect to the audience, to my opponent, whomever, their unconscious bias, their walls, right? Because to me, it's like I've done the work. I can hold space for it, right? I'll hold your emotional weight for you. So any anger that I'm projecting outward, it's like if you have a reaction to that, that says more about you than it does me. So then it's like I'm challenging them in some way to almost like introspect even deeper in some way. So that's kind of like the two like small ways that I want some people to kind of take away from when they see me.
So you'll have to forgive me for doing the very cliche wrestling interview 101 question, but if you could have a match, dream opponent,
Oh.
I could just bring out a magic contract and tomorrow you could wrestle anybody lacing up their boots today. Who would it be and why?
My immediate thought was Gunther. I love Gunther right now. He's like one of my favorites. He's such an instigator. To me, it's like my gears turn for like that kind of energy to match that. And I almost feel like his character too is him in some ways. It feels very authentic because he does general the ring. His matches have very unique spots. Every time I'm watching, I'm like, that was interesting. It was different. So I feel like that kind of gets my gears turning. I would love to do that. That like right now, that would be incredible.
I feel like you'd have to get your body ready to be in a bit of hurt if you.
Yeah, 100. It might be my last match, but you know what? I'll take it. He can retire me. I'll take
It's
it.
way too soon for you to be retired, but I mean, hey, it still would be a fun time, I think.
Yeah,
So stepping outside of the ring,
sure.
what is kind of like the version of Adam Wacker that is stepping away from wrestling if you need to recharge the batteries, just kind of get away from it? Like, what do you want people to know about you as a person?
I think very opposite to when I'm wrestling, when I'm in the ring. I think I like to protect my peace. I like it to be very zen, introspective. I like to journal. So just keeping my brain sharp, keeping my trajectory like aware, me staying aware of like what I want out of life, hanging out with my cats. like just very simple, going for a walk, staying in nature. So that's me as like kind of like that refresh, that recharge. But yeah, I think to take away like what if I had to like represent who I was in some way outside of like my routines or things, I think I just want people to think that it's like someone that's trying to self-express, like trying to I have an artistic vision up here and it's getting across in some way. So just almost like I'm leaving some, planting some seeds, leaving Easter eggs, stuff like that. So someone that's always thinking.
All right. So, one thing I like to ask everybody before we sign off is
Yeah.
for a piece of advice. I know you have a young career, but you have multiple different perspectives based on seeing this at different times
Mm,
of your life. But if you had an opportunity to go back and talk to a young version of yourself who's just
mm.
kind of on the fence about getting into wrestling, or if you were to have a conversation with somebody just today who's like, "Hey, Adam, like what's the most important piece of advice you could give me as I pursue this industry?" What would that be?
To stay present, to be to recognize the value you have now, not for what you do or what you achieve, just for you being who you are now. Learning to like love myself for who I am and not require like external validation from others to kind of validate my value. I think that would be what a young Adam would need to hear, especially at that time. Because then that's kind of like the confidence enough to just be like, I can do what represents me and it's okay. So I think that would be the biggest thing, like staying authentic, present to like who you are.
Okay, and that's for both times when you were getting into it, like the younger version of yourself and a little bit older, 10 years later?
Yes, I think so. Because now I think that keeps me grounded. It keeps me connected to that part of me. Because I've definitely grown way past who I was then. But it allows me to hold that version of myself kind of softly rather than with like anger or shame, like, oh, I should have been better. I should have done this. I can look at that and be like, I'm doing for him what he wanted to do for himself. So it's like I'm integrating that part of like, yeah, I'd be proud of who I am now then. So like keep that in mind then, by the time you get here. So it's yeah.
I like that. The way I'm hearing it, almost like just to paraphrase that, like, the who you were and what you did shouldn't be a regret. It helped lead you to where you are now, and you should
100%.
stay present in that idea that you wouldn't be where you are now if you didn't
Yes.
have those challenges before. I love that. I love that.
100%.
Absolutely. So before we sign out, can you just let people know once again who you are, maybe where they can follow you on socials if they want to keep up to date with your career?
Yeah, sure. So I go by Wallless Adam Wacker, Adam.Wacker on Instagram. Just my name for all other socials. You can find me in the Ontario area, Off the Ropes. Next show, Off the Ropes Goes Extreme, March 21st. Day after my birthday, too. So
Oh.
hopefully me and Robbie Vegas, High Frequencies, will be getting a treat taking care of those Falcon brothers. But also the greater Buffalo area, Empire State Wrestling, Extreme Wrestling Force, Erie All Stars, Erie, Pennsylvania. So far that kind of that circuit that keeps me active.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Independent Wrestling Profiles. Please help out the show if you can with a like, subscription, or review. We'll see you next time.
This program is a proud part of the Swear to Pod Network.